Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The theme is what you see on the screen. For this weekend, topics will center around the theme. Of course, the essence is chanting the holy name with absorption, without offense. And the intention for most of us, if not all of us, is to gradually make progress towards from where we are to where we want to go, towards the stage of chanting with full absorption. And a very nice lesson in Rupa Goswami's teachings in Upadesh Amrita is the verse. We're going to see the verse and discuss the verse, especially the first three parts of the verse. Enthusiasm, determination, and patience. Now, what you see on the screen is ingredients for cooking, at least spices. And along with spices, you need the vegetable or the whatever else, the grain or whatever else there is. But the ingredients for cooking are displayed in front. And then the ingredients for chanting the holy name are these three. So that's our topic. Enthusiasm, determination, and patience. In those who are accomplished and pure devotees, they have these qualities in full. And for the rest of us, it's sadhana. It's a process of practice to come to that stage. And verse number 3 of Nectar of Instruction, or Bhakti Upadesh Amrita, goes like this, in color coded. Utsaha Nishchaya Daryat. We can say the verse together. Utsaha Nishchaya Daryat Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Sato Vrate Shadbhir Bhaktir Prasidjati. Nice verse. Translation. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service, and these first 3: being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, and being patient. Acting according to tat tat karma pravartanat, acting according to the regular principles. We have this very special sound system in this temple. The sound system fades in and fades out. What to do? Because it's part of the temple equipment. So if my voice fades out, I'll cross my fingers in hopes that it'll come back again. Tat tat karma pravartanat, regular principles. Now, the regular principles, we have our ISKCON way of saying regular principles, the 4 regular principles. But this, according to this translation, it's Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. The processes of bhakti, the regular practices of bhakti. Sangatyagat Satovrate, abandoning association of non-devotees and following in the footsteps. Shadbhir Bhakti Prasidjati. Those are the 6. But our focus is going to go to these first 3. So here's a nice image that portrays the intention here. Most trees, you just see the upper part. But this is a photograph where you see what's below the upper part. And there's a network of roots which nourish the tree, and so the tree grows if the roots are watered and what's necessary. I like telling stories. So here's the story. Some time ago during this summer, I visited Shamasundar Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple Shamasundar Prabhu. Wonderful devotee. And one of the things he likes many things, but one of the things he likes is nature. So we went for a nature walk because he lives in a little cabin in the middle of a forest, kind of. So we went for a walk. There's like a trail, not like a road, just a footpath. And he was pointing out the names of the trees and the age of the trees. He could tell by how thick the trees are. And then he was asking me tree questions. He said, "Do you know that a sequoia tree grows really old, but it doesn't grow like a banyan tree will grow from a banyan seed, but there's no sequoia seeds. Do you know how sequoia trees grow?" I said, "No." He said, "Underground, there's a structure of roots that's vast, and that's what holds up this tall, tall, tall tree. This vast structure of roots, which is the point that's being illustrated in the photograph here also." Then we were walking along, and he put, "See that clump over there? You know what that is? That's a baby sequoia tree." "Really?" He said, "Yeah, because the root structure goes underneath, and sometimes the root structure produces another sequoia tree over here. And so that's the beginnings. It's going to take some years to become a full tree, but it's the beginning of a sequoia tree. You know, like you hang out with Shamasundra and you'll find all kinds of things, you know, about trees and everything. So similarly, there's the external part of our devotional life. And then there's the internal part of our devotional life. The internal part of the devotional life you don't see, but you can distinguish it because of the external. How we behave, how we speak, how we conduct ourselves, the measurable part, the observable part. And then it's resting upon something that's inside. So these utsahanishaya daryat, they're the inside, and then there are ways to naturally manifest them outside. So they're interconnected, these qualities, these three, like cause and effect. So the way this is illustrated is like gears. At the top, the first one in the blue color, enthusiasm. And enthusiasm, we'll hear during the course of this presentation, enthusiasm is the starting point. You know, enthusiasm for what? But enthusiasm. Without enthusiasm, there's no life. Or with enthusiasm, then you have life. Enthusiastic for what? So enthusiasm moves things. And when that enthusiasm moves, then this other machine part showing there's a cog that's turning is some continuation of that enthusiasm and determination. There's a purpose, with whatever, in case it's bhakti, it's pleasing Krishna. Or in case of japa, it's chanting attentively, or with absorption, or without distraction, or the different ways of saying quality chanting, chanting with quality, chanting with quality. And then enthusiastic that's what we're here for, quality chanting. And so the first element is enthusiasm. And then many of you have taken part in japa retreats before. Some of you have not. And those of you that have not, welcome. Because there's a hill coming up Saturday morning. And for some persons, it's a mountain, not just a hill. And for some persons, it's impossible. but it's certainly possible because otherwise we wouldn't do that. But it's there has to be some determination. Supposing supposing somebody has some determination. Let me ask you a question. This young boy, I pick on him a lot. You chant every day? Honest, every day? Okay. And do you have a number that you chant every day? What's that number? May I ask? 10 rounds. So to chant 10 rounds every day, it takes some determination. And then maybe you can do it one day or a few days, but 10 rounds every day and with school, and then sometimes there's exams, right? No exams? Okay. You quiz the teacher then. Okay. Okay. So there's obstacles in our path of maintaining some standard, some vrata, but determination can make it possible, and driving it is our enthusiasm for what? For a goal. We'll go into it some more. Just like saying, why chant? Or why are we here? The why question. That's one of our topics, by the way. Why? So if it went to the extent that one has a clear answer to the why question, then you know what your target is. It's not just 10 rounds, but it's the why 10 rounds. The why chanting, why we why anything. Why a temple? Why are we here? What's the purpose? What's it all about? You know, if you don't ask that question, you're not likely to have an answer. And even if the answer is dancing in front of you and hitting you on the head, you probably won't hear it anyways because you're not asking the question. So the why questions are good. We'll get there. But enthusiasm, then that drives determination. If enthusiasm doesn't become cold, then determination to what? Fill in the what. And then the what is driven by the why. And then to take some time, patience, dharya. So that's how we're going to say it again. Enthusiasm helps one to be determined. Determination or confidence enables one to be patient. Look at that. Okay. Okay. And patience allows one to be continuing to be enthusiastic and determined while you're striving going forward. So we're going to take one by one, starting with enthusiasm. I'll make a recommendation. You don't have to do this, but it's a nice recommendation. First thing in the morning, like this lady is greeting the morning sun. First thing in the morning. If you think the opportunity by God's grace, it looks like you're being given an opportunity to live another day. And then what is that day? What are you receiving as the day comes? What is it that you're enthusiastic to achieve? An encouragement, at least try for the next 3 days, like tomorrow morning and the next morning and then the morning after the next morning. Here's an opportunity I have. Krishna has provided me somehow or another with the opportunity to chant his holy name, to be in his presence. Little old me, insignificant little speck, me, have an opportunity to be with the Supreme Person. in his vachika form, in his sound form. Wow. And then you consider what the day is, it was awaiting you for that day, and there's reason to be enthusiastic. The principle of enthusiasm applies to worldly life as well as spiritual life. Those of you that are American or are a little familiar with American literature, Ralph Waldo Emerson was a well-known author. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. But it's not just modern people, Socrates. The years wrinkle our skin, but lack of enthusiasm wrinkles our soul. Cool, huh? So enthusiasm is imperative for life. Where there's a soul that's not enthusiastic, the soul that's not enthusiastic, aging happens quickly. Conversely, regardless of the age of the body, if one is enthusiastic, you probably know some enthusiastic people that are elderly. It's like Srila Prabhupada, go, 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 nonstop. His biographies describe his young, energetic, American disciples, boys and girls, couldn't keep up with him. Enthusiasm. Like, where did he get his energy and ability and strength? There's many nice Prabhupada stories about that. There's one, let's say one. There's a very nice description in one of the biographies of Srila Prabhupada when they were establishing the Radha London Ishwara altar. How they got the deities is a whole other amazing story. And then they're putting the altar in place. The altar had this donated big slab of marble and held up by 4 columns. And as they were situating the deities, the marble slab started to come down. And it was really heavy. It took several men to lift the thing to bring it in through the front door of that little temple. And Prabhupada was watching, and he didn't hesitate. He's elderly gentleman stood up and held the marble slab himself. And, the others scurried around and, put the columns back in place. I'm probably missing some detail in this narration, but, his soul was not wrinkled. He was enthusiastic till the very end. And, setting a standard for us. Now, there is such a thing as enthusiasm that's misplaced. A nice lesson to learn is a good definition, just like Rupa Goswami's definition of bhakti says what bhakti isn't and then what bhakti is. A good definition is describing what a thing isn't as well as what a thing is. You all know the definition of bhakti. Not karma again, acting for the pleasure of Krishna. In simple language. So then, supposing one doesn't know what to be enthusiastic about, then it's a kind of false enthusiasm. And this little photograph here is meant to show one of those false enthusiasm stories. This one I heard from Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. It's a nice story. He was giving a class. I was attending his class on describing the obstacles for bhakti, and one of them is false enthusiasm, utsaha mayi. So he gave this example. One time, he wasn't there, but George Harrison came to visit the Bhaktivedanta Manor. he had donated the property and he was just visiting, and he had friends at the manor. So he came up in this big limousine, got out of the big limousine, and one enthusiastic devotee came running up and paid full dandavats in a puddle, because London rains sometimes, right? His body was drenched in mud, and the fellow then stood up and greeted George, and George said, "He didn't have to do that." That's an example of Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj's example of Utsaha Mayi. Prabhupada's definition of enthusiasm is very simple and worth remembering. Endeavor executed with intelligence and Krishna consciousness. Three things. Endeavor executed with intelligence. Then what's endeavor and what's intelligence? And in Krishna consciousness, that is, Krishna is to be pleased. That's what enthusiasm is. And it's different than being over enthusiastic or overconfident. It's measured, commensurate with where you are in your capacity. And then to endeavor with enthusiasm according to your capacity. And then, so like he's chanting 10 rounds a day. Radha Shamasundara ki jai. This is going to happen every time the Didi curtain opens and closes. In before coming here, I was in Houston for a Japa retreat, and they have a different system. Rather than the noisy curtain, they have an electric one. And when the curtain closes, you hear the motor, and the curtain closes, and everything stopped because the deities are appearing or disappearing. So I guess I'll just get used to it. So with the right target, with the right measurement of our capacity, we should be enthusiastic. So I was saying this young boy is chanting 10 rounds, and that's nice. And to maintain, so what standard should any one of us do? The answer, that which you can maintain. That's a good standard. So supposing somebody's newer and supposing this and that, which you can sustain, do that. Supposing you get really ill, it happens. You're bedridden, you're in the hospital, you're in something. You may not be able to breathe. So what are you going to do? Enchant in your mind. And then, etc. So according to one situation, some standard, but then comes with intelligence and according to your capacity, and then you sustain that. That's enthusiasm. What's intelligence in Krishna consciousness? Here's Jiva Goswami's very nice teaching, because Jiva Goswami wrote after Rupa Goswami, because he was his disciple. He explains this intelligence in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 236. There are two methods of taking shelter of the Lord. One, by announcing that one has no other shelter. Two, by giving up other means of shelter using good intelligence. The same model, it's not just Jiva Goswami's invention, the presentation is made in relation to Vibhishan. and his Sharanagati when he surrenders to Ramachandra. An extensive commentary by Sri Vaishnavacharyas on that point of Sharanagati. And they make these first two, there's six, and we also have six, they also have six, and they mention these two. It's, one and the other. They go together, but one is inclusive, the other is exclusive. No other shelter. And there's only one shelter. And any other shelter, any other means of getting there, you let go. There's one shelter and one means. The surrender means. He quotes from Uddhava Gita. Oh, Uddhava, give up Shruti and Smriti, the path of enjoyment and the path of renunciation, the desire to hear more about Dharma and what you have already heard about Dharma. Surrender to me alone, the soul of all beings, using all methods with bhava in your mind. You will be fearless by my mercy. Nice. Same point, just a very elegant way of saying the same point. Intelligence in Krishna consciousness. Or another reference also from Uddhava Gita, but different chapter. This is Uddhava to Krishna. Oh Lord, for one who is being tormented on the terrible path of birth and death, and is constantly overwhelmed by the threefold miseries, I do not see any shelter other than your two lotus feet, which are like a refreshing umbrella that pours showers of nectar. Now, what umbrella pours showers of nectar? Umbrella is supposed to keep the showers away. But the two lotus feet of Krishna give a different kind of shower inside the umbrella. Nectar shower. Nice. It's poetic, but poetry is a nice way to explain things that are hard to understand otherwise. So, therefore, poetry has its place in Vaishnava literature. Conclusion, when we recognize that there is no other shelter, that is intelligence. So, the Puranas give us examples. One of the examples is Prahlad Maharaj. When he was being tortured and attempted murder by his father, this nice picture of his being pushed off a cliff. And did he have any shelter other than the personality of Godhead? He had the personality of Godhead shelter. Commentary says, Lord Vishnu considered, what's Prahlad going to do? Is he going to scream? Is he going to cry? So he's falling and he didn't show himself. He's just falling down to the jagged rocks down below, and what's he going to do? And he didn't scream or any of that stuff. And then Lord Vishnu caught him. Haribol. Now, we may not know when some misfortune is happening that Krishna has got our backside. Krishna is going to take his promise to protect his devotee is true. We may not see it, we may not understand it, we may so many things. We had this little discussion in Bhagavatam. Sometimes misfortune that is uttered by someone is actually good fortune, and we don't understand it. But if one who has faith in that one shelter is always there, and I have no other shelter, that's where you go. It's a real good way for you to examine yourself. When there's some circumstance that's outrageous, where does your mind go? Some challenge, some obstacle, something. and then it did something doesn't go away. Where does your mind go? I read this about George Harrison. I'll just share it quickly. He had attachment to Krishna. There was a situation. It came out when he was on a witness stand in England because a burglar one evening had broken into his home and was stealing stuff downstairs. And he heard the noise upstairs in his bedroom, and he was with his wife. So he went to the balcony and looked down and saw the burglar stealing stuff. So what did he do? On the witness stand, because they caught the guy, and then he's on the witness stand under oath saying, I just screamed the Hare Krishna mantra at the top of my lungs. That was his shelter. It wasn't just a song. It was his shelter. And then he ran down the stairs, screaming the Hare Krishna mantra on the witness stand, telling the story. And the person freaked and ran, and later got caught. And he had a place of shelter. What's our place of shelter when danger comes? Push comes to shove, and what's your shelter? This is a verse from the Bhagavatam where I know that Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Without Krishna consciousness, one cannot be happy. There's limitations to our intelligence, particularly on the material side. We had a little discussion this morning, and this is like along that line. But does we? Many of us, I'm one, who grew up with a science upbringing. I was science major and did well in school with science and math and all that stuff and all that stuff. So that was my major. I had a career path, but the major was science. So I learned stuff in science. I had faith in that process of learning. But it doesn't explain lots of things. Science doesn't explain lots of things. Anyway, I won't. That's a whole class. It's a book. Science doesn't explain all things. How much mystery shrouds material existence? What to speak of spiritual reality? Each self-healing body housing a soul itself is mysterious. Here's a little example. One time I had some buildup of wax in my ear and I couldn't hear out of my right ear. Then I tried this and that and the other thing, those liquids to make things soft, and nothing worked. So I made an appointment with an ear doctor. In between so there was an appointment, and then this big glob of black yucky stuff fell out of my ear. But I had this doctor's appointment, so I went anyways. It was a Chinese man, and he sat me down. What can I do for you? And I said, I made the appointment because, and then this happened. And he chuckled and said, the body has a way of healing itself. Let me take a look. Because he had to do his job. He got a little thing with the light and looked inside and said, yeah, it looks good. The body has a way of healing itself. I mean, there are some things that the body can't overcome, but many things. So what is it? There is yet no physical law that explains both the micro and the macro phenomena simultaneously. No known cause for cancer or other deadly diseases. How does an apple tree know to pick specific elements from the earth to create apples, etc.? So there's lots of mysteries. abundant mysteries. And so there's limitation to our intelligence. That's on the material side. And then on the spiritual side, I mean, here's another story. Stories help to understand things. Once upon a time, I was a high school kid. And when I was a senior in high school, my mother was a school teacher, and she consulted, but she had already made up her mind. She she signed up for our home being the place for an American Field Service student to stay in our home. Somebody from our school went to some foreign country. Someone from a foreign country came and stayed in our home for that 1 year. And the person that came to stay in our home was named Ken Ijiri. And he's a genius. And he probably was really disappointed coming to our school because it was like tiddlywinks compared to his capacity. He was brilliant. And, he got a high school diploma for the same year that I graduated. And I didn't hear from him for many, many, many years. And then some years later, I heard from him. And he wanted to know because he was working on his third PhD at the University of Wisconsin. And so, sure, come on over. Because he wanted to see the Empire State Building. No, wanted to see the Statue of Liberty. I was living in New York and I hadn't been to the Statue of Liberty, but if he wants to go, sure, let's go. So we're riding in the subway because he stayed with us in the temple and we were going to the southern tip of Manhattan to look at the Statue of Liberty. And on the subway ride, I asked him, 3 PhDs? First was math, because that's like he was gifted. Then physics. Then his third PhD was biochemistry. And his third PhD was studying the cell division of a frog. What is it that causes one cell to divide into 2 cells? It's a nice question. Using physics, math, and biology. What is it? I didn't ask him what was your conclusion. I could have. I didn't. I should have. I just said, what if the answer to this question was something to do with the presence of the soul, and by the presence of the soul, the cell division took place? Because matter doesn't move without, I didn't say, but matter doesn't move without spirit. And he gave a very honest answer. He said, it's not in our domain to address that question. And so we went to see the Statue of Liberty. But there's limits. That's the topic. And one can confine oneself by the model of acquiring knowledge, but the knowledge that by definition, knowledge, enthusiasm is endeavor with intelligence in Krishna consciousness. Now, what about enthusiasm in chanting? Can you be intelligent when being enthusiastic? Here's not so intelligent. I have to. Oh, no. I have to chant my rounds before the end of the day. This may be a thought that habitually enters our mind. The have to mentality interferes with one's enthusiastic approach to one's relationship with the holy name. Put yourself in Krishna's shoes. If your child comes to you thinking, I have to spend time with mom and dad because it's compulsory. It's not so warm. It's not so lovely. But then this enthusiasm, get up in the morning, yay, here's Krishna's giving me another opportunity to be with him, be present with him, personally in the form of the sound vibration. And I don't have an experience that sound vibration is not different than the person, but I've understood it from scripture, and I mean, he's giving me that opportunity to get that realization and that direct experience. So it's choosing with enthusiasm to take take up that chanting. Srila Prabhupada writes, one should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. A student, a businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants success in his life, in his line, must be enthusiastic. No, you can say Thoreau agrees with Prabhupada, or Prabhupada agrees with Thoreau, but it's a truth. Nothing worthy is accomplished without enthusiasm. So, uh, recently there was a Govardhan retreat, and one major part of the Govardhan retreat was their Japa retreat, and one devotee from Houston, Shamasundar, was there. Madhupati, you know Shamsundar, right? Yeah. He was there attending, and he then sent me this image that he received from Satchidananda Swami, and I'm inspired by it. Be present with the holy name, and know I am here with you. So Shamsundar says that Satchidananda Swami, and he has followed the same policy principle. He has a little photograph, little picture that he sets up on his japa table. Here's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We're going to visit him a few times. From Bhaktiloka. In Bhaktiloka, it's a book where he's going through Upanishad Amrita one by one. So here's what he writes. We should not lose enthusiasm because we have no strength to destroy the reactions of karma. We should expect to experience the following in the flickering stage. Uttahamayi, Ganatarala, Vyudha Vishaya Sangra, etc. Enthusiasm is the only support for all types of devotional service. By enthusiastically performing devotional service, one can give up anishtata, or unsteady service in a very short time, and thus attain nishtata. All anarthas are vanquished by performing devotional service with enthusiasm. It's very compelling, isn't it? He's a powerful writer. The word shraddha is certainly faith, but enthusiasm is the life of shraddha. I'll say it again. The word shraddha, so bhakti begins with faith, adau shraddha. But enthusiasm is the life of shraddha. Faith without enthusiasm is meaningless. Many people think they have faith in God, but because they have no enthusiasm, their faith has no meaning. I mean, that's strong language, but it's true. And here's Srila Prabhupada. This is a letter, Srila Prabhupada to Tirtha Maharaj, a godbrother, 1965, before he came to the U.S. I'm in due receipt of your letter of 17th instant, and although it is not very encouraging, still I am not to be a man to be disappointed. He's enthusiastic, even when discouraged. What do you do if you're not feeling enthusiastic? Be enthusiastic. That's Prabhupada's answer. If you're not feeling enthusiasm to dance, dance, and you'll feel enthusiasm. And he did. And then when he did, everyone did. Overcoming lethargy or the absence of enthusiasm is be with those that are enthusiastic and act in principle at least with the striving to be enthusiastic, and enthusiasm will come naturally. So that it's already 7:30, 7:28, and I don't know if we're going to finish in time because this discussion is a little bit longer. You see on the left, this is intended for little breakout groups. There's a lot of devotees here. So we'll do the first one, maybe not all three. The first one, somebody, in dyads, two of you or three of you or four of you or whatever you're good with, you sit and have a discussion on what you see on the screen. Why do we chant Krishna's names? What moves us to chant? Because it feels good? Because we promised we would? Because now it's a habit? I know some people that are to do that. Because we don't want to suffer? Because we fear the consequences of not doing so? And there may be, anyway, so this is a small group. We don't have to report back to the large group. 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes short because of the clock hands keep moving. Find a group and on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, yeah, you have your own. Yes, yes.
Probably don't even qualify for the. I probably don't even qualify for the question because my chanting is all haphazard. So I don't even know what to discuss.
We'll hear from someone else. Sangha. There's a nice gentleman. 1 minute. Okay, we're going to move on because the clock keeps moving. That's the first topic of three, Utsahan, and now comes patience. When I first heard this sequence, I thought first it's saying go and then it's saying stop. So how do you go and stop at the same time? But it's not stop, it's just be patient. Here's the etymology of the word patience. This is Latin grammar. It originates from the word patientia, meaning endurance or suffering. So to endure some difficulty, and you just, with patience, you endure it. Dhairya, that's the Sanskrit, is derived from dhira, or sobriety. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains other persons become restless, so the opposite of restlessness, what it isn't. So some difficulty. I'm waiting. I'm enthusiastic, but it's not happening yet. It's not happening yet. It is not happening yet. So be patient. Have patience. All things are difficult before they become easy. Take shelter of the holy name. Krishna will help in his own time and his own way. It is true. One can't snap one's fingers and summon Krishna to fix everything within immediately. Dhairya. Be patient. Something that I have said on many occasions. Anything genuine takes time. Think about it. Anything genuine. It's easy to make a plastic something or a glass something, to make a crystal or a diamond, like chandelier. Take a chandelier. It's costly. And a plastic one and a glass one, they're all right, but they're not. It's not a shed. It's not the same. Doesn't The quality is not the same. What to speak of a diamond? It takes some time. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they're eagerly participating. Now, as you probably picked up already, I like stories. Here's a story of a Greek, not philosopher, but an author, rather contemporary fellow, and he tells a story about a butterfly. And the story goes like this. Once upon a time, he was in the country and he saw a cocoon, and there was a cocoon was attached to the branch, a thin branch of a tree. So he went to inspect it, and as he was inspecting the cocoon, the butterfly was coming out of the cocoon. And it was like, nature's spectacle. The butterfly's going to come out of this cocoon. But it took some time. So he thought, let me help the butterfly. So he brought the cocoon close, and by his warm breath, the butterfly was able to come out more quickly. But when the butterfly came out more quickly, the wings of the butterfly weren't properly developed. And so the butterfly fluttered, but the wings weren't carrying him anywhere. And so he held the butterfly in his hand, and he watched in his hand as the butterfly died, as he wrote about it. If only I had been patient and had interrupted nature's own way of letting butterflies come out of cocoons in their own way at their own time. He was meaning to be helpful, but it brought the death of the butterfly. And then he writes, I haven't forgiven myself since then. And a lesson learned. May I not make the same mistake again. Remain patient. Here's another story. Once upon a time, I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I had a father. And my father was an outdoorsy type. And one of the things we did, I mean, it could probably happen around this part of because I grew up in upstate New York, like central New York State. So when it gets cold like this, I'm used to it, no problem. So in the summertime, it's nice. So we had a large family, used to go out in the forests where they allowed it, and we would pick cherries and cherry trees. You pay something, and you have your baskets, and you pick strawberries and blueberries and peaches, and it's like it was a family thing. And there were places that encouraged it. So being an outdoorsy type, my father one time he wanted to he did a lot of gardening, and one of the things he did is he planted a peach tree. And I remember very well. I was a little boy looking at the peach tree. Where are the peaches? And I was told, be patient. Next year, where are the peaches? Be patient. The third year, these little green things, they're the peaches. But they stayed little green things. They didn't become peaches. And then the third year, they were peaches. Then I understood, I learned a lesson. You have to be patient with peach trees. Not only with peach trees, with life. And then we moved. So I don't know what happened with the peach tree after that, but a lesson, all in good time. So supposing you're the impatient type for different reasons. You don't accept things the way they are. You want them to move more quickly or whatever, whatever, whatever. Remember that picture of the fellow looking at the clock? The ability to be patient is largely dependent upon one's recognition and self-acceptance of the qualities and faults within. So, supposing all of us here would like to increase the quality and or quantity of our chanting, at least quality. So you have a goal, you have a target. How long is it going to take? One weekend, and then it's a fix, right? And your chanting starting Monday is superlative. Sorry, Charlie, that's not how it works. It's an effort over a period of time. Anything anything worthwhile takes time. So remain patient. Don't deviate from the standard principle of enthusiasm and heading in the right direction. Be patient to get there. Make sure you have make sure you get on the right train. One of the things I like about visiting China is I don't speak Chinese. And I'm completely dependent on everybody. And, one of the common ways of travel in China is by train. Imagine what it's like going into a train station in China and you don't speak Chinese. You better have somebody that knows their way around. And then you get on the train and you're like, I hope we got on the right train because it's going to take you to wherever the destination is, even if you got on the wrong train. So have good guides while you're being patient, yes, and follow the principles as closely as you can and reinvest with enthusiasm in the right principles of improving your chanting and improving your Krishna consciousness, etc. And be patient, enthusiasm and patience. Endeavor with intelligence in Krishna consciousness and be patient. And then I have my shortcomings. Can I say? There was one fellow sitting over here who was not participating in the discussion, and I invited him to come over. And he said, I don't feel qualified to sit in a discussion because my chanting is so bad. I can't have a discussion about quality. This is how to have patience and enthusiasm at the same time. Inquire self acceptance. I have my qualities and faults. He's here. We're here, and we're less than perfect. Welcome to the club, less than perfect club. And we want to go whatever the next step is that's commensurate with my capacity. Fantastic. Thank you for being here. And then take the sound vibration and the application of that sound vibration to heart and go the next step patiently. So self-acceptance leads to a better destination because you know where the strengths are. You work on your strengths. You know where your weaknesses are. You borrow from the strengths and apply them to the weakness, and step by step under proper guidance. So here's another example. This is a young baby bird that doesn't have wings. So the young baby bird, he didn't go to baby bird school and he didn't learn what to do by going to school. He knows what to do. You can say instinct, you can say super soul, you can say, whatever answer you like. But he makes this loud sound. You see how wide open his mouth is? Because he is dependent. We're also, when we're being patient, we're dependent upon something, someone, the mercy of Krishna coming. We're dependent. We're not blindly dependent. We're dependent. So the bird is calling to his mother to bring the yummy insect or whatever it is, that a worm or whatever it is going to eat, and then he eats it and then starts making that sound again because he's dependent. Similarly, we're in this dependent position. It's not like the goal is to become independent, but the message here is you can Hare Krishna, but you can't Hare Krishna. Like the wingless baby bird. Here's where the inspiration behind. This is a verse from Canto 6, Chapter 11. The lotus, oh lotus-eyed Lord, as a baby bird, as baby birds, plural, that have not yet developed their wings, always look for their mother to return and feed them. As small calves, tied with ropes, await anxiously the time of milking, when they will be allowed to drink the milk of their mothers. Or as a morose wife whose husband is away from home, always longs for him to return and satisfy her in all respects. I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you. Now, direct service, we serve through the medium of those who are representatives. And similarly with chanting, there's direct association with Krishna through the sound of his name. But how do we have access to that? Through those that gave us the name. Otherwise, we'd be making some other sound, like whatever, water, or Coca-Cola, or something. This kind of internal mood of reciprocation goes against the grain of modern encouragement. You can do it. You can achieve. We can't do japa. That's a futile endeavor. Rather, we can receive Krishna's association. That shift is the cultivation of patience. Got it? I hope you got it. Here's that same image again. Be present and know I am here with you. Krishna is there. Direct association, of course, by the mercy of and through the medium of representatives. Here's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Patience is extremely necessary. Symptoms of patience: being able to control the 6 urges: speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, genitals. Unregulated speech results in enmity with others by talking about them. It is not possible to conquer anger and the other urges by intelligence alone in a very short time. Attachment for sense enjoyment overcomes the function of the intelligence and gives anger a place in its kingdom. The mind is conquered, like the Avanti Brahmana, by remaining firmly fixed in the service of Mukunda. Nice verse. I'm not going there just now. This is Burijan Prabhu and his little Japa book. It's a nice book for those of you that like books that inspire good Japa. He spent a couple decades in hulling and coning and refining the words of this skinny book. Many devotees struggle with chanting because before they can take shelter of Krishna's names, they have to travel through the desert of seeing the truth about themselves, that they have little sincerity and no taste, that the mind is uncontrolled and filled with anarthas, that they have no power to help themselves. This stage is necessary because it convinces us that we have nothing to depend on except Krishna's holy name. Now that may, if the shoe fits, wear it. There are different persons that have different experiences from their chanting. I'll share one. There was a period of time when Badahari Prabhu would join me, and together we would present japa retreats. He got very busy doing lots of other things, so we haven't done that in quite some time. We're probably sure it'd be nice to do it again. So one time, after the 64 round day, I was driving, he was in the passenger seat. We're going from the Institute House that's up on the hill in Gitanagari. We're going down to the temple for the next morning after the 64 round day. So I just asked him, Badahari, how did it go? He was silent. And I was quite patient. And then he said, it was like a desert. Badahari, desert, chanting, desert, no such thing. My experience with him is he's like a human globjaman. You just touch him and juice comes. Yes, anyone that's been in, so, and then in personal dealings, he's just, that's his nature. Very sweet. And it was like a desert. So I remained silent. And then he elaborated, towards the end, he then described what that desert experience was. And towards the end, Krishna flooded him because he stayed with it, even it was like a desert. It flooded him with nectar, this umbrella with the nectar, the two lotus feet. And he felt this was what Krishna wanted him to do, to persevere when it was dry like a desert, when he's used to just the opposite. But he knows that Krishna is not dry like a desert. And he stuck it out. And so each of us, who knows Sunday, our 64 round day, what it's going to be like? We don't know. Even if you're Badahari, it might be like a desert. And don't be discouraged. Be patient. So this is Burijan saying, we may have to pass through those things to understand what our real dependence is. Don't be dependent upon something, something. Your gift, your ability, your intelligence, your something, something. Your piety, something. Nice example, scriptural example, Narada Muni. You know, all know the story. Narada Muni, when he was a young boy, he was the son of a Shudra woman. There's no mention even of his father, who he was. His mother died with the snake bird, so there he was left alone. But he had, prior to that, he had association of sadhus, bhakti vedantas, in the Bhagavatam's language. And they gave him a process of chanting and a process of meditation. So he did that. And he saw in his mature youth, living in the forest alone, he saw the form of Krishna who appeared before him and spoke to him. And then poof, he disappeared. And then he was searching, where did he go? Where did he go? He couldn't find him. Imagine what that feeling was in the middle of a forest. And then he heard a voice. The voice said, you won't see me again for the rest of your life, but remain faithful, because after this life you'll come to me. And that's how he lived the rest of his life, with patience. Okay, here's our discussion topic. And it's 5 minutes before 8. So what to do? There's 3 choices. Have it and go longer. Second choice, have it and skip number 3. Madhupati, what should I do? Let's have a discussion group, and then I'll seek counsel. What we should do next? Here's the topics. You can modify the topics as you wish, but it's on the topic of patience. You can read the text. I don't have to read it for you. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Discussion groups. However you want to break yourselves up. Okay. Okay. I'm okay. What does he want?
It's okay. We can go till 8:30.
Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That was a sign to end your conversation. With a little consultation with Madhupati, I can go till 8:30, but not beyond. So let us go. You notice on the right side of the screen, that's the cover of a book. That's the title and the cover of a book. Notice the man has his foot on the brake pedal. Next to the brake pedal is the gas pedal. That's God's putting on the brake pedal. God, why are you too slow? And finally, that which sustains patience and enthusiasm is confidence or determination. This is some of the features of Nishayat. Krishna loves me. Krishna has my back. That is, he's my maintainer and protector. These are principles of surrender. Krishna is his name. I may not have realization, but I have the understanding conceptually from scripture. Krishna is his name, and I am in his presence. I am capable of fully restoring my broken relationship with Krishna, not on my own, but with the mercy of Krishna. We we're in the presence. I don't want to get into a fall of the jiva topic, but we have free will eternally because we're spirit, soul, or part of the Supreme who has unlimited free will. So we have free will, and misuse of free will is results in our present circumstance. Misuse of free will. So we broke the relationship. He didn't, and here we are. We also have the confidence, at least the capacity to restore that relationship. So notice these images. Krishna loves me. This is Gopakumar finally makes it back to Goloka. We had during one of the home programs from the last year's Japa retreat, we discussed this a little bit. From the very, very beginning of part 2, Gopakumar is living in, he's a cowherd boy, Gopa, and he's a little boy, Kumar, Gopakumar. And in the course of doing what little cowherd boys do, taking care of cows in Vrindavan, he sees a Brahmin over there, and he's intrigued by the disposition, the mood, the peacefulness of this Brahmin. So slowly, 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 he develops a little friendship with this Brahmin, and the Brahmin takes kindness upon Gopakumar, and with his Gopakumar's request, he gives him a mantra, Gopal mantra, Madan Gopal mantra, right? And his spiritual master just goes off in ecstasy. He doesn't explain anything about the mantra. So he, having received this mantra from a teacher, from a Brahmin, from a guru, he takes it seriously. And then slowly, slowly, the way Brihat Bhagavatamrita Part 2 unfolds is it takes him to higher consciousness, and higher consciousness has higher places, and he goes through the whole universe, beyond the coverings of the universe. Very fascinating description of piercing the coverings of the universe and going into the bright light of the Brahmajyoti and the Vaikuntha planets, and he makes it finally to Goloka Vrindavan. Very informative, very elevated, very elegant writing of Sanatana Goswami. And he sees Krishna off in a distance, and Krishna sees him off in a distance, and they start running towards each other. And the painting is Krishna embraces him, and imagine how Gopakumar feels. He melts. And then Krishna says, this came out in our discussion a few evenings ago. Krishna says, a few lifetimes ago, I thought maybe in this lifetime you'll come back, but you didn't come back. And then I thought maybe next lifetime, but you didn't come back. And then another lifetime and another lifetime, and finally you've come back. Please never leave. And Gopakumar melts again. So the topic we discussed was how much Krishna wants us. We don't know. How much do we want? Something. And can it something become a little more something? Yes. And commensurate with our enthusiasm, there's the enthusiasm word, and patience and determination, we can get there. It's in our hand. It's Krishna's ready. Are we ready? So Krishna loves us. It's a given. And we broke that relationship. We have a chance to restore it. On the next picture on the upper right-hand corner, that's Madhavendra Puri was being maintained by Krishna himself. Sometimes he would send somebody, but sometimes he would come himself, as he did with Madhavendra Puri, and brought some milk, saying, the ladies in our village, they saw you sitting here, they said, take that sadhu some milk. And it's the whole description of Madhavendra Puri's realization of the deity Gopal. On the lower left, that's Raghunath Das Goswami chanting Japa by the side of Radha Kund. And as he was chanting with such absorption, he didn't even notice the heat of the midday sun was burning his skin. But Radharani noticed. So Radharani came and extended her upper garment to shade him from the sunlight so his body wouldn't burn. And he didn't even know it. But Sanatana Goswami was watching from a distance and he saw. Later he chastised Raghunath. What kind of servant are you? You're having Radharani serve you? What kind of service is that? You're too detached. You build a little cottage, please. Do your chanting in that little cottage, please. And Raghunath Das said, yes, and didn't build the cottage because he's very detached. And I'm capable of fully restoring my broken relationship with Krishna. This little image is Maharaj Prataparudra, who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Prataparudra was a grahastha and a administrator type person, a Kshatriya type person, Lord Chaitanya wouldn't meet with him. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya figured out a way that he could meet with him. And this is the painting. Halfway through Rath Yatra, dancing, Lord Chaitanya would take rest in the Jagannath Vallabh garden. So he trained the king, don't go dressed in your royal attire, go in simple cloth and recite verses from the Bhagavatam and massage the legs of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he'll appreciate it very much. So with guidance from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya-like persons, we can also restore the broken relationship with Krishna. With determination means even there may be obstacles, as you've seen this painting before. This is Prabhupada in the Jaladuta. on his second heart attack. It wasn't just a dream. The dream is what's pictured up above. Up above, he had a dream. In the dream, he saw a boat, and the boat was being rowed and steered by Krishna and the avatars, making sure that Prabhupada made it to his destination, the English-speaking parts of the world. And there's the Jaladuta. But Krishna came and placed his hand on Prabhupada's chest. He told the devotees later. The quality of determination, deeply internal, if ignited by a personal spiritual purpose or vision, can touch Krishna's heart. Determination in the practice of bhakti is an expression of love, isn't it? We're going to see this fellow somewhere later in the afternoon class tomorrow. Purpose fuels determination. This is Simon Sinek, because he has this whole thing about finding your why. What is our purpose to chant? Same as we had that discussion group earlier. What vision or deep desire can enliven or fuel our determination? It can be as simple as just listen to one mantra. You've heard that one. Mindfulness. One mantra at a time. Just hear one mantra. Or Radha and Krishna and the pleasure groves of Vrindavan. And I want to be with them. What purposes speak to me personally? This is the why question. Once our purpose is identified, pursue that purpose. Like a dog with a bone. Interesting metaphor, huh? Try to take a bone away from a dog. Don't make that mistake. Through die times, rough times, doubting times, intense and challenging times. Here's a nice illustration that comes from Burijan's Japa book. And those of you that don't recognize what's going on in this image, it's a sugarcane juice wheel. And yeah, I've watched it. Maybe some of you here also have watched it. They put in this, looks like bamboo, just like the stalk. But, it's not just a bamboo, it's sugar cane. And you put it through the squeezer, and out over there on that side comes the sugar cane juice. It's really nice. Very refreshing. Even when there's challenges. So here's from Burijan's book. Oh, holy name of Krishna, may the hard, crushing wheel of life extract humility from my offense-laden heart. Let that humility give birth to the sweet nectar juice of devotional service to you. Meaning, chanting of the holy name is an entryway into the rest of devotional service, hearing and chanting and etc. All of our service is resting upon the effectiveness of our chanting. You want the rest of your devotional life to be nourishing and sweet and juicy. Chant nicely. There's a nice description of this on the negative side. There were two devotees that were involved in being put in jail during the Soviet era, and one of them survived, while the other one didn't, and they wrote a book called Salted Bread. And the one that survived explained there they were in jail because they were Hare Krishna guys. And, Soviet leaders didn't like that, so they put them in jail. And when they put them in jail, they were also feeding them, but they were vegetarian. So the only thing they could eat was bread. And according to the book, Russian bread is difficult. So the only thing that gave it a little bit of taste was some salt on the bread. So they ate salted bread for like a year. One of them died in jail, and the other one survived. That was the Soviet era. True story. So even when there's challenges, not likely to be challenges like this, but there's some challenges guaranteed stick around. If there aren't some today, there's be some tomorrow. Challenges. And then how are you going to, what's your shelter? It is especially easy to lose hope or esteem in devotional service activity of japa. Wait till Sunday comes around. Recognizing how little progress one has made, yet for the devotee deeply experiencing that Krishna has got my back, despite my weak effort and correspondingly meager internal growth, the fuel is to keep the fuel going. This is this determination. Prabhupada says, the devotee thinks, Avasya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. I mean, I like the Badahari story. I like the Badahari story because of my relationship with him, because he's such a delightful personality. And to say it was a desert, and his voice was like that too. It was a desert. So may you not have a desert experience on Sunday. But if you do, remember Badahari. And remember that this lesson here. Here's a nice excerpt from Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. The first volume of 3 volumes was recorded his voice, Shamsundar's voice. Quarantine, lost tapes, broken tape recorder, nothing seemed to rattle Prabhupada. He told the story of how in 1948, after years of labor, his 1,200-page Bhagavad Gita as it is manuscript had been stolen from his home in Calcutta. And now he had simply sat down and started over. No discouragement. Similar thing happened in the Bowery, version number 2. Stay determined. Doubting, the opposite of nishchaya, brings inauspiciousness, as noted in Bhagavad Gita 4.40. Therefore, the Vedic statements ascertained by the previous Mahajans as relating to the qualifications for devotion are called Amnaya. He wrote a book, Amnaya Sutra. He was prolific. And is necessary to learn them. So, qualifications for devotion. It is impossible to enter into the inconceivable nature without receiving the full mercy of the spiritual master. That's a qualification. Doubts in the essential truths of devotional service disqualifies one from devotional service. Now, it's 20 after, and I'm going to give you an option. We have a discussion group topic, or we can just take questions. Any preferences? Let's see the hands. Who would like to have discussion? I don't see any hands. I see one hand. Who would like to have a discussion among your discussion groups? I see some hands going up. Let's do that. Here it is. We will have a few minutes longer, and then we're going to end. I hope that's okay. So, am I important to Krishna? Does he love me? Do I see Krishna's hand in my various challenges and obstacles? Can I become a pure devotee? Really? Do I have the potential to give my heart fully to Krishna without holding back? Potential? So, when you're ready, begin your discussions. I'd like to end because, according to my watch, we have 3 minutes. There are just 2 slides remaining. This is one of the 2 slides summarizing these 3 points: enthusiasm, patience, and confidence. This is just a little paraphrase, little bullet point message. Krishna, I need you. Patience, however long, I'm not leaving this path. You see the turtle, and it's a long path, but he's not leaving the path. And confidence, Krishna, you care about me. So that the confidence in the forgotten relationship, although it's been forgotten, it's in our hand to restore it. And finally, this may be helpful, may not, during your chanting tomorrow morning, a message of humility and conviction and enthusiasm. By my previous shameful life, my heart is polluted with many illusory attachments. Personally, I have no power to stop them. Only you, Harinam Prabhu, within my heart can remove such inauspicious contamination. But whether remove such attachments immediately or let me go on being afflicted by them, I will never give up my devotional service to you. This is to the holy name. Even if you place millions of obstacles in my path, and even if because of my offenses I go to hell, I will never for a moment stop serving you. I am not interested in mental speculation and fruitive activities. Even if Lord Brahma personally comes before me offering such engagements, I will be not even slightly interested. Although I'm attached to material things, I can see very clearly that they lead to no good because they simply give me trouble and disturb my devotional service to you. Therefore, I sincerely repent my foolish attachment to so many material things, and I am patiently awaiting your mercy. Now, this is a longer version of that very simple expression that Borijan wrote in his Japa book about going through difficulty has its purpose. It's not like cruel, it's just the consequence of our misuse of free will in the past to indicate there is a place of shelter, and that unless and until we go through that, I have no other place of shelter. Are we going to take shelter of the one thing? But it's okay. I have no other place of shelter. Humility is part of a life of devotion to Krishna. It's a symptom of devotion to Krishna. My independence is gone. False independence is gone. I am dependent, and in that mood, calling. May you have nice japa tomorrow morning, and I'm going to end so that we can get up nice and early tomorrow morning and see you at 7:30. And there's a full program for the rest of the day to prepare us for the 64 round day. See you tomorrow. See the Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Should we switch that off? Should we switch
There's no time.
That's,
We're done. We're done.
do you want to do